Hey guys, it's the Prez. I'm back from my trip. It's Tuesday. It's the college football show with Dave Cokin and Teddy Covers. I cashed at the World Series. I wish it was the World Series. I cashed at the Venetian Deep Stack tournament. Came 14th in the 1100. Tripled my money, but not good enough. Anyway, Teddy, how are you? Really quick. We got a fast show today. What's going on?
How are you, Lawrence? Good to see you in Vegas this last weekend. I'm doing pretty good, man. November's been a heck of a lot better than October was for myself and my clients. We're running good in NFL and college right now, so see if we can keep it rolling.
Nice to hear, my friend, and also happy birthday from yesterday. I'm sorry I forgot to text you. Got to the airport, plane was delayed hours and hours and hours, and I just forgot to text you. So happy birthday.
Well, thanks, buddy. But on the wrong side of 50, you're not exactly celebrating these things.
Hey, as my mother says, what's the alternative, Teddy?
Exactly.
Dave Cokin, how are you, brother? Wrong side of 50 yourself.
Well, I don't, there's nothing I can do about it, so I don't care about that. It's like the weather. I don't worry about the weather. But speaking of weather, a college football handicapping tip as we head to mid-November and beyond. Do your lineups when you're lining up your schedule each week. Look for warm weather teams having to travel to cold weather locations, and then check the weather and see what it's going to be, because you can get a little bit of an advantage with the cold weather teams that sometimes is not in the line.
It's a great point, Dave. And I mean, it is relevant in the NFL as well, but I don't think as relevant.
No, I would agree.
Boys, let's get straight into it, man. We gotta do this show quick. My plane was delayed. I literally just got off the plane. So we're a little bit behind. Minnesota going into Iowa. Wow, Minnesota. This team looks really, really good. They find themselves +3 against a 6-3 Iowa team. Dave, you first. What do you like in this game?
Well, I'm not going against Minnesota. I mean, the knee jerk is going to be, well, they're going to flatten out off the Penn State game, and going into Iowa is going to be tough. Well, going into Iowa is going to be tough because Iowa is the type of team defensively that can create some problems for Minnesota. But the Iowa offense isn't doing anything. I don't think P.J. Fleck's going to let down, because they're still outside the playoffs and need to keep it rolling. Now, I don't know that Minnesota is going to get through the remainder of the season unbeaten, but I'm not sure I want to buy Iowa here. I did make Iowa a 1-point favorite, so it's not a game where I'm likely to get on Minnesota, but I would not be against Minnesota based on the perceived letdown. I don't think it's necessarily going to be there.
Teddy, you and I spoke about the pending Minnesota-Ohio State game at dinner, and you were like, well, I mean, there's no reason Minnesota can't win. You know, my gut tells me that if Ohio State was in this spot, they would certainly not be +3. What do you like in this game?
I don't even understand what you were talking about. What do you mean Ohio State would be +3?
I said they wouldn't. You said Minnesota might have a chance to beat Ohio State. I said no way, no chance. And this is an example. The bookmakers don't think so either. Ohio State would come into this game a huge favorite.
Oh, sure.
Well, of course. And for Minnesota to actually play Ohio State, they would have to meet in the Big Ten title game, which is a long way away for the Gophers. They still have Iowa, Northwestern, and, of course, Wisconsin in their season finale. This point spread is a clear knee-jerk reaction, clear, from the betting market saying, well, Minnesota's supposed to let down, now they just beat Penn State. We saw P.J. Fleck with a Western Michigan team that was supposed to let down 6 different times. And you know what? They didn't. Iowa does not have a good offense. I got a cover with Iowa last week. I didn't deserve that cover. You know, they were not the right side in Wisconsin. They were lucky. And they made some plays in the fourth quarter with the game on the line, et cetera, with the point spread on the line. But this is a bad offense facing a good offense, and the bad offense is laying the points. And it's all, well, these are the games Iowa tends to win under Ferentz, and they give teams like Minnesota trouble, and they've dominated. They won the Floyd of Rosedale each of the last 4 years. I understand all that. I think this year Minnesota's the better team.
He's Teddy Covers, Dave Cokin with us. There is a small Delay on the sound, guys. My apologies. I mean, that's Skype. Some days it's perfect, some days it isn't. I'm looking into using Zoom for next week, so bear with us. And Teddy, before we get into the next game, quick promotion for you. You're on a 13-4 football run. Outstanding stuff, Teddy. I mean, you killed it in September. You've started November, phenomenal. We're going to give $100 off of your NFL season package. Head over to wagertalk.com, use the promo code Teddy100, and we're going to do a scroll change, and we'll talk about Dave in a bit. Guys, Navy, 7-1, going into Notre Dame, 7-2. Notre Dame is minus 9.5. Dave, where are you going in this one?
Kind of getting robbed on the number. I wanted Navy here. Don't know that I'm getting quite the spread I wanted. And that's based on the fact that Navy's playing really well. And, you know, the betting market knows these games just aren't really big to Notre Dame right now. Navy has given Notre Dame fits in the past. I think they will again. I'm not sure how well prepared for the option Notre Dame will be. The Irish at least played well last week against Duke, but that was a very good matchup for them. They did not play well against Virginia Tech the week after they got knocked out of the playoff picture by Michigan. I would side with Navy here, but I don't know that I'm getting enough to actually make the play.
Teddy, you with Dave on this?
My analysis could have come out of, or his analysis could have come out of my mouth. The concept of, I like Navy, but I don't like the spread that I'm being offered with Navy. You know, I want a Navy plus 14, maybe Navy plus 12.5. At single digits, it concerns me enough that I probably don't get involved here. And like Dave, I'm not believing that the Irish are going to go through the back half of their schedule and blow everybody out. And certainly from a situational standpoint, Navy off the bye and Navy playing great football. Their best football in recent seasons over the course of the last month. I understand why the line is short. Unfortunately, it's too short for me to get involved with the middies in this one.
One note, by the way, Navy they're in the hunt for the Cotton Bowl. So this is a really huge game for them. If they win here, they've got a chance still to get that Cotton Bowl.
Go Navy. Auburn plus 7 against Georgia. Georgia's 8-1. Auburn 7-2. This should be a great game. We have no total yet. It's still off the board. Dave, minus 7 on the road for the Bulldogs against a good football team. Too big a number?
Well, here's the problem. Auburn is a really good football team, but their one position where they're not good is the quarterback position. It remains an ongoing issue for them. The line you gave, by the way, is way off. I don't know where you got 7. It's Georgia minus 3.
What?
There's some.
And there is a total for the game.
So
I don't know. I don't know what you're looking at.
Well, my bad, guys. I'm like so panicked because
All right, well, okay. So you got the line wrong. Forget about it. There doesn't have to be a reason for it. Georgia's 3, some 2.5. Total's 40.5. The problem for Auburn is that one position that they're weak at is quarterback, and everybody knows it. And Georgia's got a whale of a defense that is now playing its best football of the year. Georgia has more to play for. I don't necessarily make that a big factor here because Auburn is still in the hunt for some big stuff themselves. I really can't go against Georgia in this spot, though, because I feel certain they're going to tailor their defense to stop the run and force Auburn to do something through the air to beat them, and I'm not convinced Auburn can do that. So it's Georgia nothing for me in this game.
Teddy, I really like Auburn plus 7.
Well, teasing then.
Man, I tell you, I talk about panic mode. We were supposed to do the show an hour ago. I got in, I ran the computers up. I haven't done any research yet. So my sincere and humble apologies. What do you like in this game, Teddy?
Well, in a spot like this, Prez, where you're just getting off the plane and you hung out in Vegas and played cards for a couple of days and you're getting off, maybe what you should do is just introduce the games and get out of the way.
Well, that's what I'm doing pretty much, dude.
Lawrence. Always fun doing videos with you, my friend.
I prefer seeing you, though, Teddy. I mean, we have a lot of fun together.
Yeah, we have our moments. We do. And we had a good sushi dinner the other night, which I truly enjoyed. So thank you for that. Let's talk about Auburn and Georgia. And when we look at the situation, that's the thing that concerns me most here about Georgia is, they had the Florida game and they dominated Missouri last week. There's no break. Auburn's had the break. They've been focused on Georgia for the last 2 weeks, sitting at home and catching points in the process with a defense that may well be every bit as good as Georgia's or close to it. The problem, of course, is offensively. I do think Georgia is the better squad, but the results don't show it. They're putting up yards. The yards aren't correlating with points. This, to me, is a field goal game. I have a hard time laying in this one. And, of course, with a total of 40.5, you can expect a low-scoring defensive scrum, but these are also two defenses that are capable of putting up quick strike touchdowns, two special teams units that are capable of scoring quick strike touchdowns. Total of 40.5 to me is a little bit low, especially because we know neither team likely to be able to run the football effectively for extended stretch in this one, which means both quarterbacks are going to have to be chucking it around a little bit.
Guys, you're watching the College Football Betting Show. We are going to go all the way through the regular season, and then Dave, Teddy, and I are going to do a bowl preview show, and that'll be it for this show. But until then, please enjoy. These two guys are so good in college football, and we get such great comments, so really big thanks to everybody. Dave, Texas on the road playing Iowa State. -7 is the number for Iowa State. 6-3 Texas versus a 5-4 Iowa State. What do you like in this one?
I think Iowa State at 5-4 is better than Texas at 6-3. I don't think Texas is a top 25 team, although they are rated as such. You can make an argument. I got lucky. And I think I kind of did with Kansas State. They got out to a 14-0 lead, blew that, and were getting run over by Texas in the second half last week. But then the Longhorns started doing what the Longhorns do, which is making mistakes, lack of discipline. That's been there all season for them. So why is it suddenly going to change? It's probably not. That's what Texas is. They're a talented but undisciplined team, and they can be handled. Iowa State is a really good 5-4 football team, and I thought they showed tremendous fight last week, and I liked what they did at the end of the game. They tried to win it. Didn't work out, but listen, the Cyclones still need wins. They need another win to get bowl eligible. I think Iowa State's going to handle Texas here. The number also indicates that. This is a big spread for this game. It's really tempting to look at this and say, wow, I'm getting a ranked team with a better record and getting a full touchdown. I'd be laying before I'd be taken.
Teddy, what do you like in this one?
I'm not betting against Tom Herman as a dog. Okay, I'm not going to do it. And the results show it. I mean, Texas has one loss this year by more than a touchdown. And that game, in a game where they were -2 in turnovers and a bunch of weird things happened in the second half of that contest. And Iowa State has shown us on multiple, first of all, their defense isn't as good as it was supposed to be. Flat out, not. Second, in terms of, they had that one little 3-game winning streak where they beat up TCU, West Virginia, Texas Tech. Other than that, we haven't seen the Cyclones put their foot down and dominate opponents. And, of course, that winning streak ended, close to a month ago right now. So I understand the spot and the desperation for Iowa State and all of that. And from a power rating standpoint, Dave, I'm with you. I got Iowa State ranked a point, I think 1.5 points better than Texas. But not more than a touchdown better than Texas, which is what they have to win this game by in order to cover the number. I'll take the Longhorns plus the points in this one.
Dave Cokin, 63.3% in college football. Just outstanding. You went 4-1 this past week. Congratulations on an amazing college football season so far.
It actually isn't amazing because this is about, I'm in the same basic percentage breakdown as I've been, every year at Wager Talk and for a lot of years before that. I'm still upset that Ellington got hurt for Georgia State. That was the one loser. He got knocked out of the game, and I can't prove it, but I think I would have won that game and gone 5-0. But That's the way it goes. Injuries are going to happen sometimes.
Guys, head over to wagertalk.com. Use the promo code DAVE100. Get $100 off of his college football season. So head over to wagertalk. Use the promo code DAVE100. Teddy, you and I went for crappy dinner, although the company was great during the Oklahoma game. I bet Oklahoma last week. It did not go well for me. Came right down to the wire, but they did pull out the game. They're 8-1. They're going into a 9-0 Baylor. Baylor at +10. Dave,
this is in some ways a rerun of what we saw last week at Minnesota. Rule's going to be able to sell his team easily on the fact that, hey, we're 9-0. We're, what are they, 12th? They're probably going to be somewhere in the 12 neighborhood when the ratings
they are 12.
Come out tonight. Okay, well, yeah, all right. So he's going to be able to use the same speech as Fleck used all week long with Minnesota's that we get no respect at all. Nobody's believing in us despite the fact we're 9-0. I got to tell you something. You don't want to go against a motivated home dog. We might not think they're a top 5 team, but they think they are. And that, to me, is what matters more than what we think, because this team's going to be pissed about the fact that nobody is giving them any respect. Oklahoma's still rated ahead of them, even though Oklahoma's got the one loss, and certainly we're not great against Iowa State with a terrible second half in that game. I think the line's a little high, so the betting market is also not giving Baylor much respect. And you can at least justify it there because they've had some fortunate wins. But 10 looks like a too steep a number to me. I make the line about 7 in this game. And there's a good chance Baylor will end up on my card on Saturday. I don't think they're getting slaughtered here.
Teddy, are you with Dave on this?
100% on this one. I agree. And the style of football that Baylor plays, that physical smash mouth style at the line of scrimmage, I don't know that Oklahoma's defense is going to stand up well to that. And I know that the Bears didn't score a touchdown in regulation last week. My apologies to anyone that had the under in the TCU game.
Oh, boy.
That's as brutal a beat as you'll ever suffer. The worst beats do come on unders. But I'm sure as hell not laying double digits on the road with a team that's allowed 89 points in their last 2 games against an undefeated team that continues to find ways and isn't getting any respect from the betting markets. And, I mean, Baylor clawed and scratched their way to victory last week in a game they easily could have lost. You know, nothing went right for them, and they found a way to do it, and that's what they've done all year. They've been dogs 3 times this year. They've won all those 3 games straight up, and they've covered the spread by an average of more than 15 points a game in those 3 previous tries as an underdog.
Guys, we've done our 5 games in depth. We're going to go through 10 games real quick, really just 15 to 20 seconds on each game. Listeners, thanks so much for watching. I'm really sick and tired of Skype, to be honest with you. I don't understand why one day it's perfect and the next day there's a sound delay. Well,
I told you,
what, Dave?
I told you quite some time ago about Zoom.
Yeah,
because I've done some programs on Zoom, and I think it's pretty good.
Thursday I have some time. I'm gonna learn all about Zoom and try to move this show to Zoom because it's just so frustrating. Right. I mean, people bug me all the time. Why do you keep interrupting your guests? There's a sound delay, and some days it's perfect, some days it's 1 second, and some days it's 5 bloody seconds. It's really frustrating. Anyway, Teddy, Dave, we'll go to you first on every game. Pitt short favorite against UNC. Go.
I made Pitt 2. The not line's 4.5. So a little value with North Carolina. And it's probably going to be a real close game because you can throw a blanket over the entire ACC outside of Clemson, obviously. Yeah, I'd look to the dog here.
Teddy?
Yeah, I mean, North Carolina, every North Carolina game gets decided by a field goal. And Pitt is certainly not a team I'm excited about laying points with. Tar Heels are pass for this bet.
Dave, San Diego State -1.5, 2 against Fresno State. What do you like?
I made the Aztecs 3, but I just don't like the way they're playing. So I think the shade on the line is probably pretty good. If I had to bet this game, I think I might take Fresno.
Teddy?
No, I'll look the other way in this one for sure. I'm not a Fresno believer, and I know they've gotten somewhat better since the season started, but San Diego State coming off a loss and poorly played games, each of the last two against UNLV and Nevada. This is their spot, and this is an opponent that I think they can beat. And defensively, there's no comparison between these two teams. Aztecs can get stops. Fresno, sometimes. I like the favorite, the cheaply priced favorite off the loss to Nevada this week.
Dave, huge game for Penn State, minus 14.5. Where are you going in this one?
Well, I don't think it's a huge game for Penn State. I think it's just the opposite. They're out. Okay, they're not going to get in the playoffs. So I don't think it's a huge game. Here's the weird part. That might actually make it a good spot for Penn State. I like them better in games that don't matter. In games that do matter, I'm not a big James Franklin guy. Indiana's playing well though, and I think Indiana. Look, my number in the game is about 11, so I think Indiana's got a decent shot to cover here.
Teddy, you with him?
Yeah, Franklin awful. I mean, Penn State's not a team I want off a loss. I'll tell you that flat out. Under Franklin, what do I got? 4-14 against the spread over 5 years in Happy Valley following defeat, and that was a crushing defeat last week, a game that they were not in, and trailed from the get-go. And Indiana gave them all they could handle last year. It was a 5-point game between these two squads. I think the Hoosiers are live dogs here, and I love the fact they come in with extra time to prepare, and Penn State comes in off a grueling battle. I like the fresher underdog in this one.
Dave, Utah minus 3 touchdowns against UCLA at home. What do you like in the spot?
And this is one of those games where I talked about warm weather to cold weather that could come into play. So check the weather for this night game that's being played in Utah. Should favor the Utes, and Utah's got a lot of reason to go out there and try and impress people as much as they can. I think Utah might kill UCLA in this spot.
Teddy?
UCLA controls their own destiny. As funny as that sounds, if UCLA wins out, they go to the Pac-12 title game. I don't see them laying down. I see a team that has done nothing but get better since September. And Utah is a team, with a lot of respect for the Utes. I've lost stepping in front of them on multiple occasions this season. I'm not likely to step in front of them here as a result. All that being said, Utah, the offensive explosiveness is limited, and they'll be very happy winning this game by a touchdown. I don't know they can win it by margin. Lean Bruins plus the points. I do think UCLA comes to play. Have not seen an early weather forecast on this one. Still a little bit early. When we talk about Tuesday morning for weather forecasts. That being said, I would not play on the Bruins without looking at one, an accurate one, closer to kickoff.
Dave, USC minus 6.5 going into California. If it's the USC team who played the first half of the game against Arizona State, they kill this number. If it's the USC team that plays the second half, the way they played the second half of that Arizona State game, they lose outright. Which USC team is showing up?
I don't know. I don't know. To me, and I said this last week, USC's become almost unhandicappable at this point. Probably a lame duck coach. They are bowl eligible now, so at least they'll be playing in the postseason. But I don't even know if Helton will be their coach for the bowl game. Great win by California last week. Huge for them because getting to a bowl would be tremendous for California. Now they're in position to get there. I think California's got a pretty good chance in this game.
Teddy, are you with Dave here?
Yes. By the way, the early weather forecast for Salt Lake City this weekend has high temps in the 50s, game time temps in the 40s, no participation. So it's not going to be frigid, or not supposed to be frigid, in the Wasatch Mountains this weekend. When it comes to Cal USC, it's impossible to trust USC as road chalk. They're a team that's capable of beating anyone, but their ability to shoot themselves in the foot is, I think, second to none in college football this year. And it's a Cal team. We know they play defense. And Monster's not a guy who I've been impressed with at QB. He had a heck of a game last week.
Yeah, he did.
And if he can do that, I mean, that to me may well be a buy sign for the Bears. I'm waiting for a 7 to put him in my pocket. Haven't seen a 7 yet. If I see one, I will. And even at 6.5, I'm tempted.
I don't think you'll see one, though. I don't think this is getting a 7.
TCU, they're on the road playing Texas Tech. Line moved substantially. TCU -3, Dave.
Well, the original line in the game wasn't very good.
Clearly.
Sometimes they miss. Texas Tech should not have been a 1-point favorite. It's about where it should be now. I would lean slightly to TCU. I was sure hoping that one would hold up, but I knew that wasn't going to happen. So TCU's now toward the right price in this game. They should win.
Teddy?
Yeah, I mean, but TCU for me, I mean, they are a clear home road dichotomy team. With the Frost QB, they've played fairly well at home. They have not gotten the job done on the highway at any point this season, with the exception of the first game at Purdue, which, I mean, the Boilermakers, we can go on and on about them. But so TCU is not necessarily a team that I trust on the road, and I certainly don't love them off a triple overtime loss at home against an opponent, where they had a chance to knock off an undefeated foe and had them on the ropes and couldn't get it done. It's not a TCU spot for me, of course. I was going to say that maybe there's some hope for the Red Raiders defense. I don't know that there is. They just faced the right opponent last week and made some plays against West Virginia. But I do worry about that Texas Tech defense enough that I probably don't get involved in this one at all.
Guys, 3 more games to talk about. Just really quickly, everyone, make sure to use the promo code Teddy100 for $100 off of Teddy's NFL season
You skipped a game, by the way.
What, Dave?
I said you skipped a game, by the way.
Okay, we'll go back and do it. Use the promo code Dave100 for $100 off of Dave's season. We'll deal with the missed game later. Michigan plus 13 and Michigan State plus 13.5 going into Michigan. Dave, what do you like in this game?
I sure don't like Michigan State. I mean, look, I don't know what that is, but interesting noise. Michigan State, they say D'Antonio's going to stay. Well, okay. Then they'll keep on being what they are. They're not very good, okay? They run an antiquated offense. The defense has gotten worn down. Horror show last week against Illinois. They lose a game. They were up 28-3. I wasn't involved because I have a rule on Michigan State that I now follow with great diligence, which is I will never, while this guy is the coach, I will never, ever, ever again lay double digits with Michigan State. And that saved me last week because a lot of people are on the Spartans in what looked like a great spot against Illinois, and you got your lunch handed to you in the second half. So Michigan State will play their ass off here because it's a big rivalry game, and it's really all they've got left to play for because pretty good chance Michigan State's not even going to get to a bowl now. They're 4-5. But Michigan is on a run. They're playing the way they're capable of playing, and I think Michigan has a chance to pull away and do a smash mouth on a Michigan State team that I think could really be depressed at this point.
I mean, Sparty has Rutgers and Maryland still on their slate, so they're likely to be bowling. The road games at Rutgers, the home game against Maryland. So they're still live even if they lose this game to finish 6-6 and go to a minor bowl.
Does that really interest them?
I'm not convinced that it does. All that said, do we trust the Wolverines against a good defense? And I know that Michigan State, this is what happened last week for Michigan State, all right? They were up 28-3, and they fell asleep and started looking forward to the next game, and that happens. And then Lewerke made a horrific throw. Yeah. They're still up a touchdown with the ball. Everything's fine. One thing you can't do there is have your quarterback throw a really bad pick six, and that's exactly what he did. And then momentum snowballs and so on and so forth. It's a very competitive series. The Wolverine offense, while they've looked good the last couple of weeks, is still a work in progress here in November. Wolverines won by 2 touchdowns last year. I would anticipate it to be around that margin this year, which is right around the point spread.
The game I missed, A&M hosting South Carolina, -11 for the home team, Dave Cokin.
South Carolina's shown a lot of fight, but I don't know what's left in the tank for this team. You can argue, I know they're 4-6, but you can argue they've kind of overachieved a little bit. But last week, there's a bad loss last week for them. And going on the road here, not a real positive spot for them. A&M has a chance to lay down some kind of a beating here. I wouldn't be shocked if A&M wins this going away.
Teddy?
The problem is A&M hasn't done that. You know, they had a chance to lay down a beating against Arkansas. They didn't get the job done there. Even against Texas San Antonio, not covering the big number in that contest, despite statistical domination from start to finish. The Aggies in this point spread range are a little bit high. And I know, look, South Carolina's loss last week, probably ends any realistic bowl chances. All they have left is this, and then a week off, and then Clemson. But you're right about the Gamecocks showing a lot of fight, Dave. And Aggies aren't a team I'm excited.
Do they still show the same fight now? Because now their bowl game is Clemson. To me, that's the only thing left on their schedule.
I don't disagree. I just don't trust the Aggies to lay it here. Not a game I'm likely to get involved with.
Guys, Wisconsin -2 touchdowns going into Nebraska. Dave?
It's high enough to keep me away from it, although my numbers do favor Wisconsin by more than that against Nebraska, more like 17. Nebraska's no good. Okay, they're just no good. They got completely overhyped before the season started. And the reality is that Martinez is overrated. The coach might be overrated. The program's completely overrated. But Wisconsin's coming off one of their big rivalry games, so it's probably not a spot where I'm all that wild about laying this big number on the road. But I don't want Nebraska.
Teddy?
Yeah, and I mean, the Badgers have stopped covering point spreads. It's been a month now. Wisconsin has stopped covering point spreads. Nebraska hasn't covered point spreads all year. But the Badgers have been an overvalued commodity. Now, it was somewhat misleading last week. They controlled the game against Iowa and then allowed the Hawkeyes to get back into it in the fourth quarter with a couple of big plays. Wisconsin, was the better team in that game. I expect them to be the better team in this game, too. But as you mentioned, one team's coming off a rivalry game. The other team's coming off multiple losses and a bye. And the last two losses for Nebraska are competitive. And we're all talking about a team that, again, 1 point spread cover all year. So in theory, from a value standpoint, there's probably more value on the Nebraska side here than the Wisconsin side. But I'm not excited about either of these two teams in this spot, slight lean towards the over.
Last game to talk about. What a performance by LSU last week. Now they find themselves -3 touchdowns going into Mississippi. Dave, this has to be a bit of a letdown spot for LSU. With that said, they're talented enough to cover this number.
Yeah, and in the letdown spot is in the line. See, this is we're running late, so I don't want to take a whole lot of time on this, but a lot of handicappers, bettors, look at things and go, they think they know something that the odds maker doesn't. And you don't, okay? The odds makers have already put the potential letdown factor into the line because they know how the market's going to respond. The game power rate's about LSU 26, okay? So you're actually getting value on the LSU side. Now, that can get canceled out by the fact that, yes, they're in a letdown situation. But if you're already sacrificed, this is a big, big factor in my handicapping. If you're already seeing the factor that you think is so important input into the line, then you're not getting the proper value to actually make that play. And in fact, based on the numbers, just on the numbers, LSU -21 is the play here. I'm not saying I'm going to bet it, but I would not be taking Ole Miss plus the points here because you're getting shorted on what you should be getting.
Teddy, what do you like in this game?
And it's funny because my pure powering number on the game was only 22. And I've got LSU obviously ranked near the top, although I think I've been a little bit higher than the market on Ole Miss. Ole Miss has been a really good spread team. They've covered 5 of their last 6. They've been hanging around in games against quality opponents, even on the road. We saw them cover the number against Alabama. They scored 31 in that game, had close to 500 yards of offense. Saw them cover the number against Missouri in a game they lost by double digits. Again, moving the football in some hostile environments. I know this. I ain't laying with LSU coming off that win. I wouldn't be surprised if the Rebels do take advantage of a little letdown from the LSU side.
He's Teddy Covers. You can find him at Sports Memo and Wager Talk. You can get $100 off of his NFL season. Use the promo code Teddy100 at wagertalk.com. And the legend who's kicking back and relaxing is Dave Cokin. 63.3% in college football this year. You can get $100 off of the rest of his college football season. Use the promo code Dave100. Boys, my humble apologies for being late today and being completely unprepared. Just a nightmare getting out of Las Vegas yesterday. It wasn't Las Vegas. It was the landing in Toronto that was the nightmare. Anyway, thanks everyone for watching. Check out the NFL Presidential Address with Ralph. It'll go up late on Tuesday night, as well as the Betting Edge with Drew and Tony on Tuesday, and Puck Time, which Dave will be on Thursday. Thanks so much, boys. Be well, and I hope you win every game you bet.
So do I.
Cheers.